Welcome to the Landscape Photography Vlogcast, hosted by myself, Tom Peters, aka the Photo Ninja, all the way up north, all Thomson Photography. And truth, mate, it's Matt Bishop. We cover all things photography and chat to some of the best photography minds in the business. Put your feet up, the kettle on, and let's jump straight into this week's Vlogcast. Right, welcome to the podcast, Dan.
Yes, thanks for having me.
It's all right, no worries. Just for, as I know this is the same thing that everyone gets asked in every podcast, but let's just hear a little bit about you and your background. And
it's the hardest question to answer. So I'm here in Sheffield, kind of north of England, which is the kind of area I've always lived in, and I'd say I'm kind of a part-time landscape photographer at the moment. I dip in and out as to how much I do of that, but outside of that, I work in construction as a kind of day job, and got into photography it's probably like 11 years ago now, as you know, in a serious way, when I got my first interchangeable lens camera and kind of took it out on my walks in the Peak District, which is pretty nearby. Kind of just went from there, really. For me, photography is, started off just learning and trying everything that there was to try, different types of photography, and just trying to get a head around it. And then, kind of ever since then, carried on and gone to different places and spend a lot of time now. Everything outside of work generally tends to be related to photography.
Join the club.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's why we're here.
It kind of devours your life, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. It's weird how it does as well. Yeah.
In a good way, though. In a good way.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of things I try and get into, try and kind of, whether it's take it up as a hobby or enjoy and things like that. But, photography just kind of happened. I think it's, just gradual, like you say. Before you know it, you're spending all sorts of money and all sorts of time on it, basically.
You definitely get sucked into it, don't you, for sure.
Yeah.
If it's not gear, it'll be a trip or, or whatever. Like a bit of clothing for a trip.
Yeah, that's it. Camera bags and gear to get out there. There's plenty to look at.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So have you always, you talked about the Peak District, have you always saw that as your home then? Your base, your patch? Yeah. So I grew up in Nottinghamshire, which is not too far away. It's kind of the opposite end of the Peak District. So, school trips and things like that used to go to the Peak District for like long weekends and that kind of thing. So that area was always familiar to me. But when I came to Sheffield to go to university, back in 2003, too long ago, and I kind of, when I was here, it kind of, I didn't really go out to the Peak District. It wasn't really on my mind to go out there. It was, it was uni. It was like just going into town and doing all the usual uni stuff, really. Yeah. And so that side of enjoying the outdoors and enjoying walking just disappeared for a few years. And then about a year after I finished uni, and obviously you start to get a job, your time's kind of filled up and you start to look for outlets and things to do to kind of de-stress or just unwind from work. And just started going out more. Just a trip with my girlfriend out to like Lady Bower Reservoir around here, things like that. And then next weekend, or I'd go out on my own and just kind of plot a route, some areas I hadn't been to, and just kind of spend a Saturday or a Sunday walking around, and that was that kind of got me really familiar with the area. And then it was just doing that and sharing some bad photos and stuff on Facebook from that really started. I started to then look at photography magazines and then photography books, and then just research about other photographers and got into it from there. So this is definitely where I got inspired to do my landscape photography. It's where I'm kind of go out and practice or try and explore other areas. A bit less lately. I think that's kind of once you feel like you've been to a lot of places, you start to look further afield. But it's definitely good still to have on the doorstep.
It's definitely done it at the minute because of being locked down. I mean, I know myself. I feel as though I've shot my local area to death now. Yeah. And it's like I'm dying to escape.
Yeah,
it's been good in a way to go out and look for places more local to me, but at the same time, it does kind of get to that point where you think I really can't put any more images out.
Yeah.
Of local
I think
areas.
you have to start shooting just because you enjoy it. Yeah, it doesn't. I think sometimes it's not necessarily shareable images. It's just kind of to keep your eye in, isn't it?
Yeah. This is it.
Which is difficult for us if you're doing a video every week.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard not to share it.
Yeah, this is the problem. The problem.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, with the YouTube, it's just like, oh god, what am I going to do this week? Maybe I'll go intimate. I'll shoot some, I don't know, some bark or something. And but no, I think that's done me a lot of good, mind. Shooting more intimate things. I enjoy doing that anyway. So when you walk around the same woods so many different times, then really the only thing that is going to be different than the last time is if it's a different season or I don't know, you get different weather.
Yeah.
It does force you to look at your feet more or anything really.
Yeah.
So what kind of things appeal to you then? What kind of subjects appeal to you?
I suppose in terms of kind of local area, it's a lot of woodland photography that I tend to go towards. I think that's because the Peak District isn't obviously mountainous as such. It's more kind of farmland and rolling hills, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, the areas I always tend to go to are the woodland, especially autumn time. It's that's when I tend to go out the most, partly because sunrise is at a reasonable time and partly because it's colourful and the trees are there and everything. So that's definitely the majority, I'd say, of my kind of local photography is on that. But beyond that, it's really anything. Or if I go to Iceland or something like that, obviously I'll shoot the usual subjects, the usual mountainous scenes and anything like that. Really, I think that's what I try and do is I suppose shoot for the area you're in rather than trying to force it the other way and create a certain type of image in an area that doesn't suit it, maybe.
Yeah, but looking at your images, I know you shouldn't judge a photographer by his Instagram feed, but your images are very striking, aren't they? They're very you can tell that they're yours. If you know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
I feel like there's a style. Then I know everyone says about when we talk about style, but you can just tell,
if there is, it's just an amalgamation of probably trying different things over time.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I ever go into an image to specifically kind of edit it in a certain way. No, I guess in terms of composition, maybe I do really like simple images. That kind of something that will stand out within it. So either that's having lots of empty space around a subject or getting in close to it. So I think that's perhaps a consistent thing that I do look for.
It's nice as well to see a mixture of focal lengths as well.
Yeah.
Like you see some photographers will predominantly shoot with a wide angle lens, whereas you've got a real mixture of, like what you was talking about, more intimate, wider, more intimate. So you're reading the scene for what it is and then making a decision based on that, rather than just thinking, I'll stick the wide angle lens on and take the whole lot.
Yeah, I think I really struggle with wide angle, I'll be honest. Or at least I think I do anyway. Whenever I go out and I use a wide angle, I never come away feeling like I've got the right shot. And I think that again comes back to trying to get something that's like simple, striking kind of image. I tend towards the longer focal lengths where I can zoom in and, whether it's a tree on a distant ridge line or whether it's just, say, a tree that's like immediately
in front of you in a woodland, that kind of thing. It's trying to simplify what's in the frame. And I just find with wide angle, it's just always really difficult. There's always something somewhere in the frame that frustrates me or can't get rid of or can't get around. So I think I tend towards the longer focal lengths kind of. 50mm is definitely my favorite, my go-to. I could live with that lens, I think, all the time. And just kind of shoot that, and or 35mm on the Fujis as it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice to hear, because I'm exactly the same. I very rarely use my wide-angle lens, but I tend to use 50 upwards especially when I'm in the woods. So it's nice. It's nice to know. So do you tend to I always try and work backwards when I take a shot. Obviously, I get drawn to something, but I always try and think, I'll eliminate things rather than add things in, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like I'm working backwards. I find that I get a cleaner image and I get less frustrated if I go in tight and come and work backwards rather than start wider and then start eliminating things that way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Don't get distracted so much.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. I wouldn't say I don't consciously do that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more a case of, I think I do it because I'll spot something and my immediate thought will be to go in like really close and try and get a picture of just that. And then I'll perhaps look at it and think, well, within that frame, like what's distracting from it? Does it actually work? If if it doesn't stand out from the background, then it's probably not going to work. Just trying to focus on that alone. So it's kind of then step back and see if there's a way to link something else to it, like you say. So it might be in a woodland. It can be another fallen tree or something that's leading towards it that you could maybe then tie it together with, I guess. But it's I wouldn't say I consciously think like that. I think I just tend to go, oh, that's nice, and like zoom off over there with a 50mm or something, and then play around with it after, perhaps.
Yeah, because like in the woods, you tend to look in quite far ahead, aren't you? Well, I tend to anyway. Which obviously leads me down that route of a slightly longer focal range anyway, maybe. And obviously, when you still have 50 on or whatever, you are kind of there anyway, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think woodland's probably the hardest, to use a wide-angle lens in, for sure. Yeah. Because even if you find enough kind of clarity in the image, you end up with trees that are kind of doing things that they shouldn't do and stuff like that. So I think for woodland photography, that's maybe why it suits. It kind of suits what I enjoy in terms of using the longer lenses anyway, is that if you can, you need to look ahead, and that's when you do need to step back, I guess, is if you do find something that, like you say, you're drawn to, then you go back down the path 10 meters or so until you can work out how it fits within a slightly wider frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, like I said, a lot of it's just, accidental kind of just experimenting, really.
Yeah.
I find the more I think about an image, the less I'll probably come away with something that works. I don't know whether that's just because I don't enjoy it as much or whether it doesn't work. You just...
Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time on an image then, trying to get it right?
Out in the field, kind of.
Out in the field, yeah.
Yeah, I would say no, not really. I don't tend towards kind of tripod and setup and saying, right, I'm going to go to this place and try and get not necessarily a certain image, but even to what go to this place. And it tends to be more just trying to go out somewhere without a plan.
Yeah, and
then as something catches my attention, I'll try. I'll obviously hope I've got the right kit with me, because there's plenty of times where you go out with, say, just a 50mm, and then you really wish you took a zoom lens or something like that, because you just can't get what you see. But it tends to be, for me, it definitely tends to be more of a fairly quick fire shoot and move on, rather than. I get it with some photographers who kind of enjoy the slowness of the process and really trying to make everything fit together. But I don't think that's my personality, basically. I think that's the same with a lot of things I've got
fairly short attention span for stuff.
I mean, I've gone down that route lately of trying to slow myself right down and just concentrate on trying to make something work. Just more than anything, just for myself, just to try and make compositions work better than just trying to dive in and grab shots, which I'm guilty of as well. I have been guilty of in the past, but I'm finding enjoyment in just slowing it down and trying harder to make them work.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's just...
I think there's Sorry, go.
It's all right. It's just, I don't know whether that's just trying to polish turds or whether it's actually, making a really good image out of it. But I'm finding myself, I'm getting better and better at seeing the compositions that way, I think.
Yeah. I think that's where there's a lot of skill in photography, is that side of it where you're not relying on... Because I guess this is where I always struggle with other kinds of photography. Like if someone says, "Oh, can you take pictures of this product?" or or portraits, things like that, is that you have to put the thing together. So you have to have more of a vision of what you want and then try and make everything fit together. Whereas I guess to some extent, landscape photography is more about being somewhere that has those elements and then just trying to work with what you've got. So I guess that's not to say it's less creative in any way. It's just it's just beyond your control to some extent, and so you've just got to work with what you've got. But I've always struggled with other kinds of photography that need that kind of planning and detail thought, I think.
So we talked a little bit. Well, you mentioned a little bit about gear. Let's just get the gear out of the way. So, what exactly are you shooting with now then?
So at the minute, the camera I use most is a Fuji. I've had too many different Fujis lately, but the one I've got at the moment is just the XE3. The small kind of travel compact one. I recently got rid of an XT1 just because I didn't really need two of them, and I thought I'd just get some cash for it while I can and save up, get an XT4 or something in the future maybe. But I have got alongside it at the minute a Panasonic S1R as well, which is kind of, it's there and it's big and it's it's got better resolution, and it's a good camera because the controls on it and everything are like really well thought out. I think it's a really good practical camera, and the lenses are great for it and stuff like that. But it's just, again, because I just tend to go out and want to just go out walking and cover distance and just have something that's familiar and easy to use. It's sat in the bag more often than it perhaps could do too. So I see that as more, if I do go out and think, right, I'm going to go to this place and try and get a shot, then I'll take that one with me. But as an everyday camera, I just tend to fall back to the Fuji.
Yay! No,
have you officially switched?
No, I haven't. But I keep toying with the idea. But I'm just in the place at the minute where I'm just sticking with both, because I like them for different reasons. As you say, I like the higher resolution that the Sony gives me, but the Fuji, because I drive for a living, I can just chuck it in the van, and when I'm out and about anywhere, I've got it. And it doesn't take 5 minutes to set it up to get a shot. Yeah, and it just works really well for that for me. XT1, it's good enough just for carrying around, definitely.
I mean, that I had when I first started using the Fuji, I had a Sony A7, I think the original A7, and I always thought that was going to be kind of perfect camera. It was full frame, small. Yeah. At the time, there wasn't many lenses out because it was quite new, and they only had sort of a few, 4 or 5 lenses on the go, and it was more out of like boredom than anything. I think a guy at work had kind of gotten a second-hand Fuji, and I was like, oh, actually, that looks pretty cool. I might get one of them. So I just bought a second-hand XE1. It would have been back, I think, then, and it cost it was 190 quid for the body, and you could get the kit lens with it for what was probably then like another 100 quid or something. I just thought, I'll have a go. People seem to be, I saw plenty of people on Twitter saying, how good they were and stuff. So I thought I'd just have a play with it. And it was the same kind of thing. I just started using that then. And almost even when I could have taken the Sony, I just went with that. And I think I saw some different. I got a couple of things printed, one from each, and not the same shot or anything like that, but there was just that extra bit of contrast and clarity in the Fuji then. Yeah. I don't know if that was the lens. It could have been the lenses that I was using with the Sony, because I think I was using a couple that were like the older Sony lenses with the converter from the A mount.
Right. Oh yeah.
But when I kind of saw the extra sharpness and crispness on the image, that just kind of convinced me even further that, well, maybe I don't actually need I don't need the full frame. I don't need the extra megapixels. And I guess with full frame, you always need to step up your lenses as well to suit. And that's why I perhaps didn't have the money at the time to really invest in the 1,500 quid lens to get the best out of the full frame sensor. And so the Fuji just started to suit me better, really. And then I discovered the smaller, like, prime lenses, which are probably the big selling point on the Fuji, is just that how good a quality they are for some small little light lenses that you can just, like you say, chuck in a bag or whatever, and you don't even know they're there. But the clarity and stuff is just brilliant.
Well, even with the kit lens, I mean, I only have the one lens with the Fuji, and that's just the 16-50. I think it's 16-50, 16-55, something like that. But
is it a little one?
Yeah, it's just small. Like, XC.
Yeah, 1850. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's really nice. And even the clarity from that, to be honest, is brilliant for a kit lens.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, I think.
No good.
I'll leave you two to it.
Fuji loving, yeah.
We'll stop the Fuji love now then.
No, I like the Fuji. I like the look of the Fujis. Yeah, I like the look of the fact it's got, it's very tactile.
Yeah, well, that's what sold it to me, to be honest. I just like all the touchy-feely dials and switches and buttons.
Yeah,
more analog, I suppose.
Yeah.
The aperture ring on the lens was kind of it seems like a bit of a gimmick, but it's actually something that you quite enjoy using. Which, at the time, a lot of full frame cameras didn't go for. They're all kind of following suit on that now. But
and just simple things like that, like the depth of field gauge on the bottom, things like that. When you look through the viewfinder, I don't know why every camera hasn't got that. Really good addition.
Yeah.
So I quite like the I had an S1R on loan a couple of times, and I absolutely loved it. It was just the weight.
I think that's it. I think that's kind of like a big Fuji. It hasn't got the same look to it, but it's got the same quality of controls. It is really practical to use, and and it's got a menu option for like everything. Stuff I never thought I needed, but actually once you know it's there, you're like, actually that's kind of handy just to be able to quickly change. It's a really good camera. Yeah. It's just it's just a competitive space, isn't it? So it's never quite.
Yeah, I did like the fact it was big and bulky. It felt like a proper camera in your hand. And they got the clutch wheel as well on their lenses as well. Some of the lenses, which I quite liked, the focus and that. It's a bit different. Yeah, so I quite liked the Fuji. Yeah, but yeah, to be honest with you, mate, the Sony's only tiny anyway. How big are your hands?
Not big. Only the small camera.
You can sling that in the van, can you?
Well, I could do, but it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because I've got more invested in the Sony and I don't want to stick it in the van and have it rolling around in the van.
No, I know.
But 100%. But I don't know what it is. It's just, I've just got into that habit. I mean, I even tried taking the Sony out with me, and I don't know what it was. I just didn't find I was using it the same way, having it in the van. I do if I take it out. If I take it out just as a walk around, then if I carry the Sony with me, I use it the same way. So there's no different. It's just simply because I'm out and about travelling, I think. Maybe it's the fear of it having to slam the brakes on and the thing flying off the front seat, and
Yeah, it's real.
So did you have any, obviously with everything been going on, do you have any plans booked for this year or last year, so we say, that you haven't been able to do, or
not really, no. I got kind of lucky in some ways, because the year before, well, the 2 years before that, I'd been on like long trips further afield, and I was basically having a kind of a quiet year anyway, just to try and catch up on money and earn some money and that kind of thing. Luckily, really, other than kind of a family like birthday trip that was supposed to happen, there wasn't much in terms of photography that was definitely booked in. Obviously, I'd have probably ended up going somewhere at some point for like a week or two, but I didn't kind of have anything specific that I missed out on.
You've nothing planned in the near future then?
No, I didn't think. Obviously, once last year happened, it kind of just seemed like there's no point really getting my hopes up or planning anything too definite. I think one of my friends has said about possibly going back to Nepal in April next year, but even that looks like, will it really be possible that early on? Is there still going to be kind of different different countries, and that kind of travel is? You probably could do it, but is it sensible to do it, or do you just wait another year and let it die down a bit further? So, nothing like specific, booked in. Probably go to Scotland, try and go there once or twice a year. Autumn time, always good. Probably look to do that again this year. Managed to sneak away there last year just for like a quick week whilst everything was still open.
Yeah. So you talked about, was it Nepal? What was that you did a big trip? Was that for Panasonic?
No, the Panasonic is in Europe, so that was 2019.
Right.
So that was like literally just before kind of the pandemic hit, which would have completely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the worst trip possible to do. We were going between like 7 or 8 different countries in Europe, stopping everywhere, and that would have been we would have been super spreaders, I think. So that was 2020. That was different. And then Nepal I did that was 2019, and then Nepal was 2018. Nepal was just a personal trip with a friend, another guy who's into photography, and went for like just under 4 weeks just to do trekking mostly. And,
So most of your photography, you would say, is based around hiking or walking, or
I think so. Yeah, I think first and foremost that's what I look to do, and then the photography fits around it. I think it's not one of those things where you say, all right, I could give up photography and just do, because you're always going to do both. But I think it's definitely a case of trying to get to somewhere that I'd enjoy being and enjoy kind of learning about the place, and I think an experience in the place, which I think is best to do on foot. Because you're kind of forced to, obviously see the changing conditions and see what the landscape is for a longer period of time, and then from there you can choose what images you make within it, rather than flying from place to place to place and kind of just trying to visit the hot spots, which is kind of what the journey, that Panasonic trip in Europe was much more find somewhere, fly, try and get there as quick as we can, spend half a day in that place so that you can spend half a day in another place, and it's just a different way of photographing. Definitely, it doesn't mean you come away with any sort of better or worse images, I don't think, because you're still in great places with epic views and everything. So it's just a different experience, I guess, different way of different kind of image that you perhaps come away with, but not necessarily one's better or worse. It's just different. Different style. Perhaps.
If you're watching this, then I assume you're someone who is passionate about both photography and the natural world. Over the last decade, I'm sure you've seen the incredible growth in photography. Everyone has a camera these days, and everyone wants a beautiful nature photo to share with the world. Unfortunately, the passion to capture that image often overrides thoughtfulness. Wildflower fields are being trampled and destroyed. Delicate, unknown locations are being widely advertised, bringing crowds of people, transforming wild places into urban spaces. Regulations, private property, and the well-being of wildlife are ignored in the pursuit of an image for Instagram. If such things weigh heavily on you, consider joining Nature First, the movement for responsible nature photography. This is a global initiative to help recover the role of nature photographers as caretakers and ambassadors of the natural world. There are no membership fees, no ads, no gimmicks, just an opportunity to be part of this global initiative of nature photographers dedicated to caring for the natural world. You can learn more at naturefirstphotography.org.
So your Instagram, obviously you've got quite a decent following now. You've done fairly well, haven't you? So how do you see photography and social media? How do you find that mix? Or do you have any pressure for shooting for a certain thing, or do you just go with it and if people like you, they like you?
I think now it's more the latter. I think I've got to a point now where I just try and shoot what I enjoy. I wouldn't say, that means I'm completely devoid of any external influences and trying to, achieve certain things in there. But I think originally, I guess it's almost like a circle. I think you start off just shooting what you enjoy and sharing it. Then if you kind of start to spend time with it, you maybe start to then look at, right, how do I make something of this, and how do I actually kind of use it for a purpose? And that sometimes means trying to shoot certain subjects or styles, and then you perhaps get a bit tired of that and you come back around to where you were before and shooting what you enjoy. So I think I've probably done a full circle with it, and I think I guess my journey in photography has been with social media there. It's not like I have I don't have a period where I could compare and say I was just shooting for magazines or trying to get in a magazine or anything. Really, the first pictures I took with any purpose, I would have put straight on Facebook and shared to friends. That kind of, that's been there all the time. Obviously, Flickr back in the day would have been somewhere that I shared my work to try and see what would have gone down well and things like that. And then Instagram kind of came along and kicked Flickr to one side, and everything was on Instagram. And I think it's been good and bad for my photography. I don't drastically either way, but a little bit good and a little bit bad from time to time. Some bad editing of images for periods where everything kind of went orange, just because that was the trend. Yeah, but at the same time, it sort of then you could look at that in a good way, in that it encourages you to experiment with something different, and you can tone it back down to something that actually works. And there's always, like I say, kind of a good and bad side to it. But yeah, I don't know how you guys kind of find it.
I don't know, it's slightly different. I find it slightly different for me, like, especially because I don't know, with the YouTube, Instagram, we have a couple of Facebook groups. We spread ourselves quite thin sometimes. I find so I don't necessarily. I do put everything at that time into that certain aspect, but we are kind of juggling lots of different things at the same time.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. So it does feel like a bit more of a longer sort of a climb, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whether that's down to that, or I'm not really sure. I don't know about you, Paul, but
yeah. Well, to be honest, I've concentrated more on the Instagram lately, just to try and more to kind of keep it consistent, if nothing else. Is just consistent, same way as we do with the YouTube channel, really, is to try and get some sort of consistency in uploads, and it's more to do with that more than anything else. I haven't really changed.
It's what they love, isn't it? I mean, that is how people grow on it, is just the consistency, because they're all each network's obviously competing to try and keep you on there as much as you can. Keep your attention, side of it, so they definitely will recognise that. Not they, but the algorithm will recognise that and stuff. So it is hard, like I say, if you're trying to do
like YouTube for me, I kind of, I wouldn't say I tried to do a YouTube channel, but I tried to make videos, and it's just huge effort. For me personally, the extra time that you obviously have after the event to pull it all together and to do that consistently, I think it's a big achievement, really.
Yeah, I don't manage it. I really struggle. I mean, I struggle to get the time to even get a video out every 2 weeks. I really do. How Tom gets one out every week beats me, because I just don't know where time goes. By the time I've done worked all week, I mean, now it gets a bit easier with the lighter nights coming again. So you can kind of think to yourself, right, well, I've got a couple hours after work, I can go and do something. But during the winter, it's just, I just don't know how you do it, because it's you're having to kind of think to yourself, right, well, I'll shoot one weekend and I've got time to edit it for the next weekend. So that's the way I work my schedule, really, with the 2 weekly thing. I don't think I could do it weekly. Really don't. Really don't.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing, really. I try and edit the pitch, try and get it all somewhat together by Thursday.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm a week, try and get a week ahead anyway. So I'm shooting, although I've got to give myself a week. Well, yeah, like I said, I suppose I've given myself 2 weeks really, because I'm a week ahead. But yeah, as long as I keep going out every weekend, then I stay on top of it. But if I miss some, like I have done recently, lots, due to work and things,
it throws you back.
Yeah, and then you're just chasing your tail all the time. Then you've got to go out and get 2 videos in one weekend. Try and catch up, unless
Or for me, it's like, right, well, I sometimes think to myself, should I just take a week off and just nail a whole load? You know what I mean? Just nail a whole load of content and get it in the bag. But the problem is that then you're tempted to sit back on it, because then you've got all that, and then before you know where you are, you've run out of content again, and you're back to square one. So you have to, once you've done that, you have to kind of keep the ball rolling with it. But I think that's the only way I could actually put something out weekly, really.
Yeah. So you've been tempted then, Dan?
I don't know. I guess so, but I think I've very quickly realised that, I suppose I haven't thought about it, like you say there, almost building yourself a bit of a buffer before you start sharing them to kind of give yourself a run up and give yourself a bit of space to have a week off or whatever in between. It's a good idea. But I think I've got 2 issues. One is, I don't know, I tend to, when I'm out, if I do try and do a video or something like that, I just tend to go down like a stupid route with the topic, or I just do something which for me like makes it amusing, but I don't think it's any benefit to anyone necessarily watching. It would be more like of a sarcastic video about something it just end up as. I don't tend to be able to stick to like a serious theme with it, I guess, which is not ideal. So there's that side of it, and then I guess, like I said before, I tend to just go out and do not whatever takes my fancy is probably the wrong word, but if there's a nice sunset tomorrow night and I want to go out and do it, I'll just go out and shoot it. I don't perhaps plan ahead enough to then right, I'm going to take the set up for video. I've got that time. It's much more just a case of go out and shoot. I mean, the images, like talking back about those trips, like Nepal was 2.5 years ago now, and I think we were there for 20 odd days, and I've just shared photos from like the 7th day of it. So for a trip from 3 years ago, I've still got more than half the pictures probably to actually like edit and share and do something with. I'm pretty kind of slow with actually getting around to to sharing stuff, and it's not. I don't know what that, I don't know why that is really. Need to go to a psychology chat to work out whether that's just like laziness or. Well,
that's the one thing that YouTube does for you. It makes you kind of, because you're putting the content out and you're sharing your images. It does make you share your images more frequently. That definitely, because every time you put the video out, you have to share the images that you've shot on it as well. So it does kind of force your hand, really, is to get them out.
Yeah. I quite like it when last weekend I went out and I got lucky and got 3 images, I think. And I was like, 3 images. I don't have to share all 3 now. I can sit on 2 and just put 1 out, and then I can enjoy editing them when I don't feel like I have to put them out, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Whereas sometimes when I know that's all added, it's all pressure for myself. I do understand that. That's just the system that you're in. Yeah. And I do enjoy doing that. It's not. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. But sometimes I think, I can just look at them whenever. Yeah. So it's quite nice to. And I must admit, since the COVID, I have found myself going out without the vlogging camera quite a lot.
Definitely.
Like you said, for walks, like family walks, whatever. We take Willow out for a walk, and I'll take the camera. Kirsty goes, you're not taking that.
Yeah, I get exactly the same. Funnily enough.
I got the old 7200 slung over my shoulder. Yeah. Willow's going to the park. I'll take it with me, just in case. But
It's to turn a walk into a very long walk.
Yeah.
Trouble.
This is the thing.
Yeah. She has come out me a couple of times. Yeah. She has come out with me a couple of times, do videos and that, and sometimes I'll pan around and do like a bit of B-roll, and she'd be sat on a rock, just sort of, I don't know. And I think, maybe I better wrap it up.
That's good. I think that, I think to some extent I do, like in terms of motivation to shoot and to share and to do something with your photography, I do lack that sometimes, and that's, like I say, I don't know sort of why that is. I think it's just trying to find a balance in what I spend my time on. But I will be. So, for example, like the Nepal pictures, it's because I kind of get into a thought of, right, I need to share a blog post of those pictures. So I'll sit down and I'll spend 2-3 days like going through editing and writing the blog post and so on, and then I'll do like nothing remotely like photography related for a few days. Or if there is a rare occasion where there's some paid work and it's a case of obviously sharing, whether it's for like an article or something like that, and it means going through a set of images from the past, I'll sit down and I'll do it and I'll enjoy it. But it's those in between times when there's no external motivator coming at me sort of saying, right, this is the deadline, this is what you need to do. That's where I sort of struggle with keeping photography top of the list. I guess sometimes it's I enjoy sitting down watching films, TV, or just going out running or anything like that really. And some days it's just like work or whatever, you just kind of think can't be bothered.
I know what you mean. So you mentioned about your blog posts. Do you do a regular blog post on your website, or is it something you're really into writing? Or
I do enjoy writing. I think writing is a part, like a good fit for photography in terms of finding a reason to share more images. Rather than looking for that one standout picture, you can obviously kind of put together a full story with a set of images, different types of image, close-ups and stories,
like creating a story
and stuff. So that kind of whole I think that allows you, like I say, to shoot more and not be so worried about the quality of each individual image, because it still helps to fill out the story. So I do enjoy writing. I wouldn't say my blog post is, it's not a regular thing. I'm trying to kind of get through, like I say, Nepal trip, because it's almost like a day by day consecutive thing. I'm trying to get through that in an order so that it's kind of all there together as a set. And it's really, as much as it's not good for productivity or that side of it, it's good for going back to something that you really enjoy doing, looking through the few like notes and then looking through the images and refreshing your memory on an experience that you really enjoyed, and then putting that into some kind of end product, story on the blog, something like that. So it kind of, I think it really works it ties in well with photography to not just share the image and actually try and perhaps have a set of images from, even sometimes I suppose I've got everything catalogued by trip or by day. My ideal is to get all of that up as a blog. So even if it's a local walk here or a family walk, sometimes things where you still come back with a set of 10 or 15 images that you quite like.
Yeah.
You can still do something with that. Then you can still kind of, whether it's informing people about the area, it could just be like, here's an interesting walk that you might not know about in your local area, things like that. Or it could kind of be on the theme of the weather that was on the day. It could be a particular kind of moody day and things like that. So still, again, each image isn't a stunner, kind of isn't going to win any awards, but as I say, it's still something you can do with it. And I guess it's good for your SEO and stuff as well if you have more than just images.
100%. Yeah,
a picture of what you do. Yeah,
I suppose it's like any social media, really, isn't it? Like you were talking about earlier, it's about being consistent.
Yeah,
and, yeah. I suppose it is a case of whoever shouts loudest sometimes.
Definitely on social media for sure, isn't it? It's who's definitely. I think you're right.
Yeah. So do you? You've mentioned paid work quite a bit here and there. Do you do much paid work photography? Or
I mean, it would probably be like one job a year, something like that might happen. So I got kind of lucky. When was that? 3 years ago now, I think. I did a shoot for national parks in the UK, and that was like that was a dream job in loads of ways. It was a bit short. I only had 2 weeks to go and shoot like 8 national parks. So it was literally like a day in each one, which meant you were incredibly relying on the conditions, which like Exmoor, it was just fog where you couldn't see further than this. So some of it worked. So that one definitely didn't. Came away with hardly any shots there. But yeah, that was like a commission that they needed a stock of images for some marketing, and that kind of came through, and that was like out of nowhere. So I was hoping to kind of build on that, but then the next job I was actually away for when they needed it, and it kind of faded away. So that was kind of a one-off, but it definitely showed me that kind of work was out there. So that's something that I always would like to try and get more of, obviously. And then the other stuff just tends to be articles, which are more ideas that I would come up with and send to a journal or a magazine, and just kind of say, here's an outline of the idea of a place. Generally, they're about places, but the one that I've done a few times is called Earnest Journal, and it tends to be more kind of history of places or interesting stories about the place. So again, it comes back to the tying it in with the writing side. I think maybe there's more competition to just share, the photography side of it, perhaps. I don't know. Whereas if you can pitch an idea which is images and text, and you can kind of fulfill both, then you're sort of saving them a bit of a job fitting the two things together. And so I've really enjoyed doing those. And again, that's like retrospective. So I went to Ireland, for example, and kind of visited Basket Islands there. Just went because it was a trip, and to get images and just to enjoy it anyway. And then afterwards, as I started to read about it and learn more about it, it kind of clicked together as a story I could then pitch, and that kind of worked out. And it's kind of like in retrospect, I got some money out of a trip that I went and did anyway, and treating it that way. So it's just little things like that, really. Unfortunately not getting like visit Japan or visit Nepal or all these tourist agency jobs every now and again. That would be lovely, but again, that's quite a competitive field nowadays.
Definitely.
And especially travel limited, I don't think you get too many of those at the minute.
No, that's it. But it's been a write-off, hasn't it, for 2 years for a lot of people who do that kind of photography.
Never considered doing any workshops then or anything like that?
Definitely considered it, just never again, never quite got to the point where I thought I was sort of ready to do it. It's always been, I guess, just because it's always been around a 5-day-a-week job and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've never felt like an urgent need to do it, and so it's never really happened. And there's a lot of people do it, in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not to say that the market isn't there for it, but I've never. I guess the other side of it is I've never really been on many workshops, so I don't know. I don't have in my head a picture of what a workshop would or wouldn't be. So I'd be kind of taking a stab at it, or I'd have to go on something to then kind of do some. I don't know whether you guys tended to go on any workshops with other photographers, things like that in the past.
No, I haven't.
It's not something that's ever particularly appealed to me, really.
No. For me, it was just, I just love being out with the camera. And, I've took people out, like friends and family, been out for walks, and should we go up there? I got a friend of mine who was really big into his hiking, and he just used to say, should we go up there, bring a camera? And then I taught him how to go about taking pictures. And then next minute he bought a camera, and then I just thought, I could do this maybe a bit more local, and then it's just started from there, really. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I just, priced myself accordingly, and then just to go from there. It is very daunting, isn't it? Daunting idea.
Just passing on the information that at the end of the day, isn't it? That's all you can really do.
Yeah. I think it's the YouTube thing has really pushed that for me, is the confidence I get confidence from that. And then I think, wow, like sort of 5 years ago, I never would have done this.
Yeah.
It's interesting where you end up, but yeah. So you didn't ever see yourself going, or ever wanting to be full-time? Well, not full-time, but like more into the business side of photography, or are you quite happy just enjoying what you're doing now?
I think it's kind of a yes, but it's caveated to doing the things that I'd like to do with it. I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't want to be having to shoot other kinds of photography alongside it. So if you get the ability to just do workshops on a regular basis, and you kind of, that's your main source of income, that, like you say, that would be kind of brilliant, because you're out with the camera, you're meeting people, and you're just kind of passing on your knowledge, and that side of it would be, a good way of doing it. If it was travel photography, insofar as doing, a few trips a year where you're getting obviously paid to visit a place that you can then share a story and images about, then I think that's again a brilliant way of earning money. But if it then starts to kind of go into more shooting like products and promoting brands, and and then even going further afield and shooting other weddings and people and that kind of thing, then I just don't think I would. It's not something that necessarily would enjoy. I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
I just find it stressful. I think it's the part of what I enjoy about photography is I can kind of get away from like other people's demands on it, if you know what I mean. The photography is, you just go out, you find what you enjoy, you kind of edit the pictures how you want, and you share it if you want to, or if you don't want it. It's very much a thing that you can do on your own. Whereas as soon as you get into the kind of brand shooting side of it, things, products, people, weddings, it's very much you are trying to please someone else with it, and it's just a different thing. It's just a totally different practice, I guess. Skill.
Yeah, the thought of doing a shooting a wedding for me just fills me with dread.
You know what? I think it's one of those things, I think I'd enjoy it maybe 95% of the time, but that 1 or 2 times that it didn't work or went wrong would just stress me out so much that I would, I would then be fearful of kind of doing it again, or that.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing with something like a wedding photography is, if it was like a group of mates, almost people that you got on with, and you were just there and you were just having fun, enjoying it, then fine. But as soon as you had that kind of nightmare wedding where stuff goes wrong or whatever, everyone's a bit too uptight, it would just be like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, well, this is it. And I mean, landscape photography for me is to de-stress and decompress. I don't want more stress, and that's all that I think of when I think weddings. It's just stress.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no. Yeah. The thought of taking the shot, walking down the aisle is out of focus, and you get home and you think, oh no.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah.
Can we do that again?
Yeah, exactly. No.
Yeah, because I've got landscape shots that'll be out of focus, and it's like nothing was moving. You know, I was like, I really like that shot, and it turns out that actually that tree's not in focus, and it's like, apply that to an event where everything's just going off.
It's just there's far too much pressure. Far too much pressure. So where do you see yourself then in 5 years' time, or do you have any aspirations or where you want to be?
I think it's changed a lot over the last couple of years. I think there was a period of time where I definitely thought I was, like I say, sort of pushing towards more of doing more photography full time. Like I say, trying to build on that job for the national parks and really trying to get other similar jobs, build up more of a online profile, which kind of helps with that work as well. And I think obviously the last couple of years, the last year really, but the last year has just not been even possible. And even before that, I was I think what changed then is before I had a motivation just to go out and shoot to kind of get to that point. Then once I realized it was possible, that motivation disappeared a bit, if that makes sense. And it was almost like I needed a job I needed someone to be saying, here's a job to go and do. To then kind of get the motivation to go out and shoot as much as I was before. And so it's just kind of maybe, like question it a little bit in terms of what the motivation is. So I guess as a 5-year plan, at the minute, my honest answer is I'm focused a bit more on kind of personal stuff of just trying to, get a house and, just kind of get a little bit more, what do you call it, progressed or something on that side of things. Just kind of enjoy the photography, try and get, things sorted out a little bit there. And I still feel like, obviously, touch wood, bar anything going wrong, there's still plenty of time to then build up photography as, say, workshops or things like that when I'm in, a little bit older, in my 40s, 50s, or whatever it ends up being. There's still time to find a way of building that without it necessarily being like an immediate kind of switch to making it full time. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who say that and never actually end up doing it.
But
keep saying it, I don't know.
It's difficult though. Like when you've got a steady job, a steady normal job, and you earn comfortable money and you're comfortable, it's hard to sort of jeopardize that for your own pursuit, especially like if you've got families and things. I certainly think about things differently now. Now we've had a Willow, so yes, it's not easy. Just like you said, you have to think about the bigger picture sometimes, don't you? And try and make smart decisions.
Well, you need to know it's going to work at the end of the day. That's the thing. You need to know it's going to work 100%. So
and then it's constantly changing the thing as well. When I would have first started using Instagram, there was absolutely no way I could have predicted what opportunities would be there through things like, obviously, just having a following to some extent. Some people are able to get that career just by having been on the platform, share, just been that consistent sharing, and probably done some other kind of promoting and stuff in the background. But it's to some extent that'll then change. In 5 years' time, maybe Instagram is bottom of the list, and there's this whole other way of doing it. Maybe be video. Like YouTube. YouTube in some ways is a bit more consistent because it's kind of informative as well as it's not just like a short, quick fad. A lot of the time, there's more substance to it, isn't there? So I think that's perhaps a good area to stay in. But the other platforms and things, it's hard to know how you, or even in photography generally, it's hard to know what the industry would be like if I'd have took the leap that couple of years ago and managed to get
a few jobs a year doing similar projects, then all of a sudden last year it would have just been like stop.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. It's hard to.
No. What about prints? Have you ever been interested in, or ever sell many prints, or have you got into printing, or?
Yeah, so print sales is one area that has kind of provided a bit of an income over the last 5 years now. So printing side of it, I've never really gone down that route. I feel like it's a whole other time sapper, probably a money sapper as well. Whenever I see people share on Twitter and stuff about printing, it seems like there's just a massive learning curve on it to get to a point that you can be happy and reliable with it. And then and again, that's not, maybe it's laziness, maybe it's lack of motivation, but I think it's just trying to again find a balance so that I don't go down a route that that's going to then mean I don't go out as much actually shooting or not editing images and there's probably a financial side of it. So not so much printing, but in terms of selling prints, about 5-6 years ago, just by seeing, I think, other people doing it, I kind of set up a print shop on Etsy, and I started doing art fairs locally, and kind of both things have just been. I suppose that is where I find motivation as an outlet. Not necessarily being motivated for some social media platforms, things like that, as a motivator to share my work, but print sales, in those either in a physical event, just talking to people about the images and the places, and that's really interesting and really rewarding way of doing something with your imagery. And the Etsy thing was just luckily kind of choosing Etsy as a platform. Probably could have, there's probably other ones that are similarly successful, like what's it called now, like Society 6 and things like that, where they kind of print for you stuff that you can do, a reasonable amount of work on, but it's a marketplace in itself. And I think the hardest thing for a lot of photographers is obviously if you just set up a print shop which is just you. It's driving the traffic, finding the customers is obviously again a job in itself, and a really difficult thing unless you've already got a big following. It's something that's kind of, being on Etsy has kind of worked for me, just because there are people on there looking for wall art pictures. It tends to be places they know. It tends to be like stuff like that one where it's like Scotland. It's a recognisable view. It's not necessarily your most kind of personal images and things like that, but it's it's kind of it's something now which does earn me a few £100 a month kind of profit from doing it. And for me, that's that's kind of a good starting point, because I don't have to spend a huge amount of time on it. It's there, and it still feels, like I say, it's still definitely a rewarding way of actually getting something from your photos, really.
So where can everyone find you then? Directly through your website, or do you prefer a certain Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, so I guess the thing where I'm most likely to be sharing images is Instagram. That's just Dan_scape. And then my website danscape.co is like I say, where there's blogs and things. It's a bit more in depth, but not updated quite as often.
Well, thanks very much for coming on, Dan. It's been great to chat.
Yeah, cheers,
I really
mate.
enjoyed it. Yeah, cheers for having me on.
And
Thanks
we'll
so
put
much.
all the links underneath, so everyone can see. Cheers, mate.
Cheers
Cool.
now.
Nice one.
Ta-da.